Hey, welcome to our video today. I am going to be installing the plumbing on the sink, the faucet, running the plumbing from the back, connecting the water lines, doing all of this stuff. We're finishing off the kitchenette. This is video number 7 in our series. We're getting our church ready for occupancy permit. And I'm excited to get this project finished because next thing on my list at this church is to convert my 2-piece bathroom into a 3-piece. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. You're not going to want to miss that. Here we go. Now, basket strainer. So I'm just taking my thing apart. This is a hat gasket. I call it a top hat gasket. It kind of reminds me of it. We got nuts here. We got to put our basket strainer on the sink. That goes underneath. This is very important. There are 2 ways you can use these basket strainers, okay? One is you can stick the gasket on the top part, compression on the other side of the sink, and then use this ring to create that compression, and you seal it from the top so the water never gets past that gasket here. The other way is once you've installed it, underneath the sink you throw that, and then you throw that cardboard gasket on so that when you're putting on the nut, you get compression on the underside of the sink so that it doesn't leak. Personally, I prefer this way. I only use plumber's putty when I have to. This means I don't have to, so I'm gonna go with this. Here we go. I'm gonna get the sink out of here first because it's not installed yet. I almost forgot, guys. I gotta kind of guess as to where the middle of this is gonna be because my shelf is in the wrong spot for my plumbing. So I'm gonna just mark off where the center drain is. There we go. Because before I put the sink in, one, I want to drill a hole in my shelf from my plumbing. I want to bring the plumbing through the back wall. I want to bring the water supply through the back wall. And I want to be done bringing all of those things into the space because I don't want to be crawling around underneath the sink doing all that work, right? Let's get it all run before we drop in the sink. I want to bring my P-trap and everything underneath the shelf and connect it down there. So here we go. And we're going to just check for resin. We're good. Nice. Okay. Step 1. Where's my broom? I have my water, my drain behind this wall, and I've got my water supply both behind this wall. And it is 16 inches from that plug right there. So I'm going to bring these water lines both through here, and I've got Shark Bite 90s, right? Let's take a look at this. Whenever you're doing plumbing, you want to consider, do you want to have your shutoff valve coming straight out, or do you want it off on an angle here? And consider your faucet. So nice to have everything here. Open it up, take a look before you go shopping. These will connect right to my shutoff valve. So if I put both of these valves here and one above it, okay, even though my sink is going in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go left and right so that I got access to that. We'll just go here and then one here. So in behind this wall, I've got my drain line running pretty much lateral coming across. So I'm going to bring it up on a 90, stick that fitting on there, and then connect with my pipe to my drain inside the sink right here. So what I want to do is I'm good to come across at 21 inches. That's my hole, right? So I'm going to be basically going like this, but I got to drill my hole where I want to have my lateral come through at a comfortable spot, right? Considering the depth of my sink, the depth of the tailpiece, the depth of this, and then I have a conversion here. My assembly is going to be basket drain to tailpiece coming through here, and I've got this fitting here that is 1.5 inches designed to go on the tailpiece. Okay, that I just cut a piece of pipe to hit the right height. So my life is nice and simple, just a piece of ABS to finish that off. So the lower I go, the more convenient everything is, and the better it'll drain actually, because it's coming across so low. I want to try to keep my entrance through the hole nice and low. And I like to make the hole as big as the outside of the fitting, not the pipe, just in case in the future you got to make any adjustments, you can cut it off and put a coupling on or something like that. Okay, here we go. All right, so 21 from the plug is perfect. That's just to the right of this line. And then this and this coming across. They mostly fit the same height. So I'm gonna just go down here and drill a height something like this high. Okay, a couple inches off the ground. I'll just set it on there. Know my spot. Oh, excuse me for a minute while I crawl into the abyss. There we go. Okay. Okay, so here come my water lines. Now where we're from, the hot line comes through on the left. And just to make life easy, I have one type of PEX, but I put electrical tape on the hot line so I can identify it. And there's my cold. Because I'm going with shark bite, I'm just leaving this connection undone for now. And then later on, I'm gonna make the connection in the back. I'm just crimping with solid copper rings. So I've got everything kind of prepped up. I'm pretty much ready to go. I needed my clamps for the sink. There we go, they came with the sink. You know what else? It came with a basket strainer. But it doesn't matter how pretty it is. Look at this. Plastic tailpiece, plastic clamp, plastic, plastic, plastic. Everything here is freaking plastic. Like, it's like plastic and metal. It's a hybrid. Okay? This is insane. I wouldn't use this on my worst enemy. The gasket I'm gonna save. It's good to have in the plumbing kit for another day. And this is a really nice gasket for the seal. It's a better gasket for this because it'll compress where this one won't. So it'll get standing water sitting in the bottom of your sink. So I'm gonna steal that. See, this has got a nice deep well with a food trap. Little basket, look at this, this is adorable. But I'm not gonna use this. I don't wanna ever use anything plastic that has to be under compression. So that's all going in the garbage. We're gonna use this one. That doesn't fit this. I've got my own, which is also a strainer. Okay? At the end of the day, give me metal threads, okay? Like, give me brass hardware. This is the kind of stuff that I want to work with, not this cheap plastic stuff. Give me a metal tailpiece, all right? Ugh, I want my things to last when I put them on. All right, so I'm pretty much ready. I'm just gonna do a little bit more prep here, and that is on my P-trap. All right, I have 2 places where I want to use a little bit of Teflon. Teflon always goes on clockwise. Okay. And the reason we use it is a lubricant, but also a sealer. All right. Plastic on plastic ABS fittings don't get the greatest seal. But the minute you add some Teflon tape to that joint, you make it 10 times better at keeping from having leaks. All right. And we don't have to tighten it all the way up yet. Just get in the neighborhood, have it ready to go. Okay, now when we go to assemble, lickety split, we'll be done. My faucet comes with this plate. It's kind of cute and handy. Yeah, if you're making a conversion from an old one to a new one, you can use this, all right? This will go underneath the sink. Sorry, this one goes on top of the sink. And it'll cover if you have an old 3-hole faucet. But again, garbage. All right, what else have we got in our little box of surprises here? This is the weight for the pull-down hose. And this is something else. I probably need to read the instructions. Okay, now the challenge here is put the sink on. And it's a pretty deep well. I think it looks like a 9-inch. Yeah, we'll call that 9. And plus that, so I don't have a lot of room to work with. So there's a few different clip systems out there. And we're gonna basically want as many of these installed in advance as we can. So they slide on and then they won't come out. All right. Trying to find the position for all of these locations after the fact is difficult. But at the same time, this particular sink, it has a location from underneath. I can go in, slide, and then I can lock and tighten. Got the gasket, I got a strainer, it's a one piece. Boom, it's installed. We're gonna try to put this little symbol there at the top. Doesn't get much easier than that, does it? And then we have a locking nut. All right, now we want to put channel locks on here. Okay, and give that as much compression as we can comfortably give. There's no chance of damaging anything here because it's metal on metal instead of cheap plastic fittings. God, why people sell things that encourage it to fall apart on you, I don't know. And we drop it in, right? Now, one thing I'm missing is it doesn't come with a gasket. The old days, whenever you had a top mounted sink, we would always use plumber's putty or they would serve you up a gasket. I'm bleeding, how about that? Huh. All right, and you just roll this Play-Doh out. And you don't need a whole lot because it's all pretty flat. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that around the edge of your tile, you're going to have your sink set into this. Okay, so roll as much of this up as you need so that when you tighten up your sink, you're compressing down into the gasket. And then you don't have to add silicone around the outside of the sink afterwards, which always looks horrible and traps dirt. And then after I'm done compressing it, you know, I'll just scrape off the excess. It's not going to hurt anybody and put it right back in the bucket for next time. Roll this out and then lay up run around the entire perimeter of the sink. It's gonna be perfect. All right, now I gotta crawl underneath here, put in all the clips. I'm gonna have to just rely on my sense of touch here. Reach back and identify that clip. I find it easier. Oh. I just knocked it right out of the track. Well, was that ever brilliant? Wow. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to demonstrate up front, okay, the power of this little bad boy here. Okay. All right, there we go. There's more than one design. I'm not a fan of whatever the hell this is. You know, this is part of the problem. You have to buy whatever's on the damn market at the time. I'm not familiar with this brand. If I had known these clips were this frustrating, I never would have freaking bought this crap. I gotta hold it in place while I try to torque it. This is a problem. This is one of these moments where you guys get to learn from my mistakes. This hardware is garbage. It does not give me the ability to get enough compression to actually compress this gasket to get a good seal. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it all apart, get rid of this plumber's putty altogether. I'm gonna have to put a bead of clear silicone on the tile and then set this into the silicone. Not the way I want to work, but I don't have an option because this is keeping me from installing the sink nice. Just for the record, no, this is not a sponsored video, but this is my favorite silicone of all time. It's made in Guelph, Ontario. Cheers to Canada. One thing you might want to know. If it doesn't smell like vinegar, it's not really good silicone, okay? There's a lot of crap being sold on the shelf for $9 a tube that ain't worth $2.50, okay? good stuff stinks. That's how you know the difference. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just prop it up and seal it from here. You know, one of the funniest things we get in the market, we get so many products coming from overseas. And you know, Canada actually supplies China with a lot of coal. And it's not for making energy, it's for making steel. They do have one of the lowest quality steels in the world. And so the hardware is just garbage. Oh well, at least it's cheap, right? Okay. Gotta get this started before you... Oh yeah, that's my favorite thing of all time right there. 4 is good enough. We'll let the silicone do the rest of the work. All right, so check the instructions. We're good. I think I know exactly what I'm doing here. This fed through the hole, and it's gonna wanna go like this. Hot and cold. This particular product is from Glacier Bay. I am just getting occupancy permit. This thing is probably only going to last a year or two. Whatever. I'm fine with that. Again, this is going to go over all of those pipes right up to the stem. And you're going to push and turn and lock everything in place. So at least that's a really handy design. I'm just not going to be able to see anything about what I'm doing here. Just designed big and fat so you can stick your hand on it and twist it in. Okay, I got it. I just can't see what I'm doing. And I'm behind a 9-inch sink. This is why I'm saying it's not gonna last long. Because there's just no way to get in here and get a proper compression. That ain't terrible, I'll tell you that right now. See if I can muscle up a couple more turns. Yeah. That right there was a young man's game. All right. Okay. This is a quick connect, thank God. Goes to this back here. Done. That one's marked hot. There's my electrical tape. And it has a gasket, so I don't have to worry about anything else. I'm just gonna put it on here hand tight, and then I'll use a pair of slip joint pliers. Okay. We don't need a lot of strength here, but we're gonna go until that gasket gives me some resistance so I know it's engaged. There we go. Plenty. Finger tight is not tight enough, okay? So even with my vice grip hands that my kids saying I have, all right? That's tight by hand, quarter, 3/4, full turn, and a quarter. All right, there we go. That's that. This is the weight. That must be what that does. Okay, so I'm gonna set this over my pipe. Yes, definitely good to pick the right side. Okay, and then I'm gonna log it over top. That's kind of actually not a bad idea. So now it'll sit up. Now, time for the tailpiece. Right on. Okay, so brass nut, top hat washer. Okay, right up to here. All right, and then this slides on underneath. We'll use that on the white washer. The reason that works is because the pipe itself is like this, and the washer is, the big white nut is on the outside and the inside. On the inside it's flared. And so it just really creates a lot of compression. Every time you turn it, it just triples the strength every quarter. So you just got to give it a couple of shots. That's good. Now all I got to do is measure the height from my ABS to my P-trap. Okay, so I'm going to hold this up to where it comes through the wall. And then from the shelf to my ABS inside the pipe. You can see that, Max, I'm reading that at 9.5. But I want a little bit of slope, so I want this a little bit taller. So I'm going to go with 9.25 minus from the shelf to the top of this fitting. 9.25 minus 1.25, which makes it 8. We'll see if I can know my math at all here. I love to do this on the printed side because there's 8 is just after the barcode. I don't have to make a mark. There's a tooth in here. I just line that up, little crack just next to the barcode. There we are. I'll do a dry fit. See if we like that. Yeah, that actually is perfect. Line that up so it's pointing straight back now. So before I can glue anything, I've got to make a measurement and a rough in for this one as well. All right. You want to be careful not to go to the glue too quick here. We want to measure to the fitting. We're going 8 inches plus. I've got to go 8 inches plus a good 1/2 inch for the depth of the fitting. So we're going to go with 8.5. All right, here we go again. 8.5 is right there. Okay. All right. So I'll rough in that. And I'm going to rough in that and then see if all of this twists together. And it does perfectly. Okay. Alrighty. That's what the cardboard is for. Because this glue can make one hell of a mess. And this painted surface that's actually only a couple of days old, because we started this project just like 4 days ago. From repurposing and recutting down the cabinets to painting them to building the countertop, installing everything on top. If you haven't seen the series, you can check the link below. Start watching that right from the beginning. There's a lot to learn in there that can help you remodel your kitchen. Save a ton of money. Now, remember, I didn't lock that up. That gives me the ability to fuss around a little bit, right? But I don't need to have too many joints that aren't glued. Remember when you're gluing, glue the pipe and the fitting. It's a solvent, so it melts things. You want to melt them both. There we go. Now I've got 4 things to put the solvent on. This fitting, that pipe, this pipe, and that fitting. We're going to hit all 4 at the same time and stick it all together. And there we go, we'll get that out of the way. Now you don't have forever to do this, so here we are. And there we go. Okay. Now that's all good. I'll make sure it looks kind of square. Now I'm going to tighten up that P-trap. Just finger tight though, eh? Okay. If you tighten it too much, you're going to make the pipe oval and then it'll leak. A lot of people get leaks in their pipe and their first instinct is to tighten it up. You should actually relax it. Put on some new Teflon and then tighten again. Just go hand tight. Check for leaks then. Just a note, when you're doing water testing, there's every joint that you made is a possible leak. So take a piece of cardboard or some paper towels or something, stick it underneath the P-trap, okay? Because what you're going to want to do here is a two-stage. You want to turn the water on first to the faucet, hot and cold, all right? And don't just connect just the cold or something and then test the faucet. This is a mixing chamber and it'll come back out the hot water line and cause a flood. Just a note. What you want to do is two things. First, we want to just set the cold water and just let it run a little bit, okay? Just the cold. You're going to want to run this for like 15 or 20 seconds. It's going to have air in it because we had to bleed the lines. Look for anything that's obvious first. Check the basket, the collars. All right, the first inspection you're making is to make sure that everything is glued together properly and there's no obvious major leaks. Yay, we passed that test. Now we want to overwhelm the drain system. So you plug the sink and then you're going to want to fill it up with a few inches of water, okay? This water test is a little different. This one is going to overwhelm the system to make sure that all the gaskets that are in that system are under compression and are sealing things up properly. Come on, honey, stop complaining. There we go. We got all the air out now yet? I love the smell of sulfur. Before I use this kitchen though, I've got to put a new water system in. We got to put in the purification. Yep. And maybe turn the pump up a little bit, put a little more pressure in the line. What do you think? Can you imagine trying to fill up a pot of water here to boil pasta or something? You'd get old before you got it done. Now, we're going to double check everything again. Make sure that the gaskets are good. We're going to pop the drain and overwhelm the system and see if it leaks anywhere else. That might be the first time I've ever done that and didn't have a leak. All right. And now the third test. And this is the big one. If there is a place in the compression fitting where the Teflon is, sometimes it can take 5 or 10, 15 minutes before the water finds its way around all of that and starts leaking. And then you get a slow drip. So now you put it on the cold water and you just let this run, okay? Can't even tell you how many times in my career we would do a water test, first and second stage, and not do this. We go home and then we get the call on the weekend, hey, the sink is leaking. And so take the time, make sure you're not gonna have a drip. A little bit of water causes a lot of damage, especially on a painted wood surface, if it's left unattended, all right? Oh.